संसदको भूभागको हितको उहाँले आफ्नो जानलाई बलिदान दिएर बस्नुभएको छ। त्यसै हामीले पनि आउनुभयो एउटा खाता एक वचन सान्तवना दिनुहोस्, सान्तवना दिनुहोस्। तपाईँ कहिले मर्नु छैन, तपाईँ जहिले पनि भूको साथमा संसारलाई कन्ट्रोल गर्ने, संसारलाई टेक्नोलोजीको कन्ट्रोल गर्ने त्यहाँनिर चाहिँ प्राइम मिनिस्टरको चाहिँ अफिसको तर्फमा उहाँ आज 13 दिन भइसक्यो। त्यो अनसन सम्पूर्ण भूको चाहिँ दाजुभाइ दिदीबहिनीहरू हाम्रो पितृहरू आज सारा हाम्रो पितृहरूको हिजो पितृहरूको फल आजको भाइ बहिनीले पाउने छ। त्यसकारणले गर्दाखेरि प्लिज युवर हजुरहरू आउनुहोस्, काम गर्नुहोस्। छुट्टीको एक दिन भए पनि हजुरहरूले चाहिँ त्यो गोर्खाहरूको साथ दिन तपाईँले त्यसको फल भोग्न मिल्छ। हामीले सबै दाजुभाइ दिदीबहिनीहरूले हाम्रो चाहिँ टुरिस्ट पनि हाम्रो आएको छ। त्यसकारणले गर्दाखेरि प्लिज तपाईँहरूले चाहिँ एकदम दिनोजानले आफ्नो आत्मीयदेखि यो आन्दोलन सफल पार्नुहोस्, हाम्रो सक्सेस हुनेछ।
हुन्छ। स्वागत तथा सम्मानको कार्यक्रमलाई केही क्षण थाती राखी अब आज हामी किन भेला भएका छौँ, यो भेला हुनु किन जरुरी थियो र अब हाम्रो आन्दोलन कसरी जान्छ भन्ने विषयमा प्रकाश पारिदिनु हुनका लागि म यस गोर्खा सत्याग्रह सङ्घर्ष समितिका दूत डाक्टर रामनारायण कन्दुवाज्यूलाई आफ्ना सारगर्भित भनाइ राखिदिनु न हार्दिक आमन्त्रण गर्दछु। धन्यवाद।
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for gathering here. We felicitated many Gurkhas, wives, and now we are going to felicitate some British people, some MPs, some journalists. As you know that many British politicians, journalists, MPs and lawyers also have been supporting for our cause for the last 2 decades. And when we began Relay Hunger Strike, that came to an end on 7th of October, and that afternoon at 1 o'clock we began hunger strike unto death, as the British government did not make any reaction about our movement. That is why, as we had declared before, when we had started our campaign on 24 April, as we had said then that if we didn't hear anything by 24 October 2013, and then we'd be compelled to launch hunger strike unto death. And the brave Gurkha veteran who has been on hunger strike for the last 13 days, today is the 13th consecutive day he has been on hunger strike and is still determined to continue it until the British government realizes, materializes or fulfills our just and genuine demands. But not only Gurkhas, not only Gurkha wives, we got another outstanding British of high social stature. He had visited our hunger strike site when relay hunger strike was going on, and I came across and he talked to me and told me that he also wanted to launch hunger strike unto death. Such sacrifice is not possible to carry on for an ordinary person. To make such sacrifice, the person must be an outstanding human being. And why he was impressed to launch the hunger strike unto death was when he was discharging his duty in South Africa. His driver was a Gurkha, and one day, unfortunately, the Gurkha driver and this retired doctor David O'Halloran were chased by rebels, and by that Gurkha driver, the driver took him away from there and hid in a bush, but the driver returned. And when the Gurkha driver was returning, he confronted with the rebels and he lost his life. What could be greater sacrifice than this? He gave his life, the Gurkha gave his life to save the doctor's life. That is why he became highly impressed with the loyalty, honesty and sincerity of the Gurkhas. That is why he decided and had started hunger strike onto that, and he launched hunger strike for 2 days. Even if his wife and daughters told him to quit hunger strike the following day, he disagreed and vowed to continue. And he was continuing. But the other day, as his octogenarian mother became sick, did not feel well when she heard that her son was launching hunger strike unto death and being compelled to save her mother's priceless life, he was compelled to quit his hunger strike unto death after 2 days. And he is with us today, and now we Gurkhas being very proud of him, we appreciate his sacrifice. We highly appreciate his sacrifice, and we are and will be grateful to him. And now I would like to call him here, and would like to felicitate him, Coordinator Krishna Bahadur Rai, to Dr. David O'Halloran. Please, can you come forward? Now, would you please say a few words regarding our campaign?
Thank you. It is with a heavy heart that I did leave the strike to death, the hunger strike to death, which you've heard of the reasons. But I want to take you back maybe 6 months, earlier this year, when my remit now is I undertake medical programs in third world countries where there is poverty and destitution. And one of the areas that was highlighted for me, if I could make it, was to undertake a medical and an educational program in Nepal. So I spent several months trying to plan that program, and for some reason it just did not take off. There were a number of difficulties, but I sometimes wonder whether God does work in mysterious ways, because I was led to believe at that time that the reason that there was poor medical services, poor education in Nepal, was there are large Gurkha communities. They struggle then, and they struggle now. So when I came back to the UK, I found this group. I found the Gurkhas here still fighting for a pension, and it moved me. It made me feel that there was something so wrong for our brothers in arms, for our Gurkha friends. You heard my personal story of one Gurkha who gave his life, but there are thousands and thousands of stories of heroism from Gurkhas, and I was able to witness one. And then I remembered that a good man once said to me that it is better to die for something than to live for nothing. And so it made me think perhaps this was something that I might be able to do. So I thought about it and I joined. And then I met an amazing man. I met Gurkha Rai. And he moved me. He has given the last 20 years to try and get some justice for Gurkhas. He's given everything he's got, all his money, his time, his energy, his personal life. He gave everything. And now, as he says, he's got one thing left, and that's his body. And he is prepared to give his body for the Gurkha cause. And I felt very dilute in his company that he was such a brave Gurkha. I wanted to be, I was not at his level. And that saddened me. He's a special guy. And then I felt I have another objective. And that objective is not just to get what the Gurkhas deserve, but I want to save his life. I do not want him to die on the streets of Whitehall. So because of that, whilst I've been with my mother, I've been making phone calls, I've been writing letters, and I remembered that in my time with Gyanraj, that hundreds of people stopped to shake his hand, to come give their support. The police, military personnel, we had Remembrance Sunday, and all those people would stop and pay homage and salute the proud Gurkhas. That's how much you mean to the British public. And I distinguish the British public from the British government. And the British public love you. We support you. And everybody who came past on that day, on those 2 days, was saying their support for the Gurkhas. And there was one man, and one man challenged us, and he said, how many Gurkhas got the Victoria Cross? And we said 13. And he said, well, what would they think to you sacrificing your lives today? And I could not answer straight away. I had to think about that. And then I realized that the Gurkhas are a proud nation. The Gurkhas are very, very special people. Anybody in the British military will tell you how proud they are to have the Gurkhas as their colleagues. And if the Gurkhas are there, we will be there. They are ferocious warriors, and they will fight to the end because of that proud nature that they have. And then I thought, now you've got the bravest of the brave, those who would lay down their lives for their colleagues, for their friends. And that's what they did. And then I realized that's what Gyanraj is doing. We owe you our loyalty. When we wanted you, you were there. And you want us now. We should be there for you. So we owe you a debt. Sometimes you say, is it a legal obligation? But I've since found that the law and justice are not necessarily the same thing. And that upsets me. But we are here in Parliament Square because the British military and the proud Gurkhas fighting together gave us the opportunity for freedom and democracy to stand here today. So it's not the British people that don't support you, it's the government. And we will make them change their minds. And what you have done today by turning up will help make them change their mind. I wrote a personal letter to David Cameron, to the Deputy Prime Minister Nick Clegg, to your local MP, and to the Mayor of London, Boris Johnson. And the Mayor has spoken on our behalves to David Cameron. Today, I've also had word from a previous supporter of yours, Joanna Lumley, and her solicitors were speaking to me this morning whilst I was with Gyanraj. And they said they are today speaking with the Ministry of Defence to get the meeting that we want. And that's the first step. That's what we need. And when you march up and down Whitehall, you should have your shoulders back and you should have your heads up, and just remember that you are Gurkhas and we are proud of you. And I am proud of you. Thank you.
गोर्खाली आउँदैछ एक दफा आयो गोर्खाली